Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the SMG studios here in Boulder, Colorado. We're joining you here with another episode of the Intrepidity Podcast. The whole purpose of this podcast is featuring stories of incredible comebacks, people that have overcome major adversity in their life and turned it into adventure with a positive mindset. Today's guest is no different. I'd like to introduce you to my very special guest, Jenifer. Jenifer, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you. Jenifer has an incredible story of survival from a domestic violence incident that happened back in 2019. And as we get more into that, I want her to share a little bit of her life story. So Jenifer, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Wheat Ridge, Arvada area. Graduated in '02, so I'm a native. After that, it was, sales and trying to just live.
Yeah. What was your childhood like?
I was sports, all in sports and dance. So, and I was a professional cheerleader for the Colorado Crush at one point, and then just decided to teach dance after that for 17 years. So I loved it.
So dance is a big passion,
Huge.
big part of your life?
Huge, yep.
That's awesome. So, I know we were talking a little bit off camera. So you grew up here, you went to Wheat Ridge High School. How many children do you have?
I have two little boys, 9 and 5.
9 and 5. I could tell that they're definitely your life.
Yes, absolutely. I live for them. I would do anything for them.
That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, kind of what happened that led to this event that we want to share with everybody out there. First of all, I just got to commend you on your bravery to reach out to me and say that you want to tell this story is incredible, because I know it'll inspire somebody out there maybe going through something similar. So give us a little bit of history and background of your situation with this person. And, let's start from the beginning. Where did you meet him? What's your history before we get to the events?
Yeah, so I had met him about 13 years ago. I was working for a business that he had owned. I was a cocktail waitress. And we hit it off. Things went great. We were together for about a year and a half. I found out I was pregnant at 4.5 months with our child. And after that, things didn't work out. And so I was kicked out at 6 months pregnant, went back home, raised my oldest till he was 5. And then I moved out on my own. Him and I were separated. We didn't share any custody or anything until he was about 4, maybe 3. And that was about it. And then he came to me and asked me, things are different. Can we try again? I'm still in love with you. And I took a minute, thought about it, and saw some changes. So I gave it a go. And we were together for almost a year. And talked about marriage, talked about the future, retirement, a lot of things. And I poured everything I had into it, everything. I was not perfect, but I know that my love for him at that time was 100% all his. One night we went out with friends and drinking, having a good time, talking about going to Mexico to get married, and went home and things were different. That's when my life definitely changed.
What happened? So, that night, you guys were out drinking and having a good time. There was no red flags for you that
No.
Something was off at all. So you get home. What time is it?
Probably about 3.
3 in the morning?
3 in the morning, maybe. Kids are sleeping on the couch. Our oldest had a friend over. And so I thought we were going to bed. And he accused me of cheating and went off and threw my phone, and there was nothing in my phone. There was nothing I was hiding. Like I said, I was 100% committed to him, and especially when retrying again after so long, 9 years.
Yeah.
And that's when I tried leaving to go to another room to have him calm down. We talked about it the next day, and that wasn't the case at all. He put my face into the comforter of the bed, and I was screaming. I couldn't breathe. Somehow managed to roll over, and that's when he choked me. I don't remember if I blacked out or not. Some pieces are still coming back to me. I managed to kick him off, and then as I was trying to get out of the bedroom, he hit me in the back of the head 3 times. After that, I ran downstairs and was screaming for help, And my oldest, I didn't realize he was up, and he had heard the whole thing. My youngest was still sleeping. He sleeps through anything. And that was when he came down the stairs and said, "Don't you dare call the cops," to our oldest. So the cops weren't called at that moment. My mom couldn't get a hold of me the next morning because I was sleeping. I'd cried. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. And my oldest got a hold of my mom, and he told her what had happened. And she called the cops. And that's when everything changed in a matter of a blink of an eye.
So what happened when the cops finally come? Did you what were your injuries sustained, and basically what happened? Was he still there at the time? Like,
he wasn't. He had disappeared. To my understanding, I don't know where he went. I just know he disappeared. There was no injuries on the outside that the cops could see, but they could see that I was swollen. They advised me that I go into an ambulance to the hospital, and I didn't want to go by ambulance. There was no need. So after they took the report, after I changed the code on the door for the lock, got my kids settled, my mom took me to the hospital. That's where they did the black light on my neck and saw that my trachea was really damaged. My petechiae was bad. In the reports, it says that if it was another 2-3 seconds max, that I wouldn't be here today. And I didn't realize that it was that bad.
Yeah.
So they did fingerprints. They took the fingerprints off of my neck. And I had, because of the damage that was done on my trachea, I had surgery December 13th. And I have a plate and 2 screws in my neck now.
Wow.
Separating the discs.
When you look back on that night, I mean, obviously it changed your life, forever. But do you look back and can you like pinpoint a time where you think like, okay, maybe the signs were there for this, but I didn't really ever think it would turn to that? Like, had he shown signs of being out of control before ever, even if it was with somebody else and you're like, who's that?
No, there were no signs. You wouldn't think, I didn't think that it would happen to me because I didn't surround myself with people like that. It was definitely different. It made me more aware of being in tune with the people I'm around to see any signs. And if there's signs, I'm gone. But there was nothing that I saw, nothing that I knew.
So this is the part that it's frustrating with our judicial system to a certain degree. What happened to him?
He spent 2 nights in jail that I know of, and then was released on bail. From there was a lot of court hearings. There's a protection order on him against, for me and my youngest. He's able to see our son now. And at first that was very hard for me. It wasn't that I was scared that he was going to hurt my son. It's hurting me through our son and telling him things that may or may not be true. That was an obstacle I had to get over real quick. And I did it because of our son.
Yeah, that was my next question, because I know we talked a little bit off camera, is like, how did you bring yourself to that point emotionally? Because that takes a huge level of forgiveness at some level, like not for what he did, but maybe to be like, okay, this is still my son's father and this is for my son and not me, not me.
It was never about me. I was very angry for quite some time. But to know that my son still needs his dad. And at some point my son will have his own opinion about his dad. Good, bad, middle, I don't know.
Yeah.
But to know that my son needed his dad, and my son was angry. My son was sad that it had happened, and as he should be. But he's very protective.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of praying, a lot of praying, and just coming to terms that you're now a statistic, you're a survivor.
Yeah.
I don't like that label, but it's reality.
Yeah. So I haven't known you very long, but I know your mom. That's how I kind of put the dots together. The thing that's incredibly inspiring for me is I love your attitude. In the short times I've talked to you, you just seem to have so much gratitude for life and so much positivity, like where does that come from? How'd you bring yourself to that point? Because it's easy to be angry when something terrible happens.
I don't have good days all the time.
Sure. Well, we're human, right?
I've gone through depression. I have PTSD. It's not something that comes easy for me, but knowing that I'm still here, I'm here for a reason. My kids push me every single day. I could be having the worst day, and I know that they still need to be taken care of, and they will make the smallest little thing that's so funny make my day better. That's exactly what it comes down to, is my kids need me. Yeah. And if I wasn't here, where would they be?
Yeah. Isn't it amazing, like how, children can show you so much gratitude for something so simple as like just wanting to hold your hand or snuggle with you, and it just really puts things in perspective.
It does.
So now looking back, this happened in August of 2019, correct?
It did.
So he spent a few nights in jail, whatever. What are the long-term ramifications for him? Like, what did he ultimately get charged with?
Right now he's on probation for 2 years. And he can't mess up. Otherwise, he will be charged with a felony. If he completes the probation without getting in trouble and doing whatever it is that he needs to do, he will be charged with child neglect and a misdemeanor. So no felony, no nothing, because he doesn't have prior charges.
How did you feel about that initially when you had heard?
I was mad. I was angry. I didn't know how. It was kind of a slap on the hand.
Yeah.
My life almost being taken.
Yeah.
Some may say that I could be over-exaggerating, but I have my proof. I have everything in writing from the doctors, from reports. I have everything to back what I'm going through or what I went through. And I was angry, very angry. And how could the courts, how could they let me down? And this is, now I know why some people don't report.
It's crazy because I have a lot of respect for the judicial system and the way everything is, and I'm not a judge and I'm not an attorney, but it takes me back to a story of, we had a gentleman on here who got in a bar fight defending a woman and ends up getting sentenced to 10 years in prison, right? Where this guy literally almost killed you and he's going to walk away without a felony. Those are things that are messed up, and I can understand, because if, without a protection order, what does it really do if somebody's determined to hurt somebody, right? You've seen cases like it all the time of where eventually they come back and, the situation gets much worse.
Absolutely.
So that's out of your control, right?
I can't do anything.
You can't control. So how did you start to pick up the pieces and rebuild your life, and more importantly, like the life of your boys?
I had some resources. I had a couple of very, very close people next to my side through thick and thin, and led me to a resource called Precious Child.
They're a wonderful organization. We've helped them out before.
They are my angels, with my dad being in heaven. They helped me a lot. They got my kids clothes. They led me to resources for housing, for anything that I needed, a mattress, or my kids needing a new bike because theirs got stolen.
Yeah.
A job that I am very, very happy with. I work for the Federal Highway, and it's all the resources that were given to me and the very, very close-knit people next to me, pushing me and rooting me on of, you know what, you are a strong, independent woman. You can get through this. Yes, today is a hard day, but you can get this. Your boys need you.
Yeah.
And it's just one day at a time. It really is.
What's your advice to somebody kind of going through something similar, because you're walking that line as well? And I mean, I assume you'd be willing to talk to somebody that, you know, would like to talk to you because you've been through it.
Absolutely. If I can change one person's life, I know that I've done my job. And my job is to make sure that nobody goes through what I've been through, with or without kids involved. I hope that people report more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're scared. It can lead into you not being here.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to people. I want to help any way that I can, if that means a place to stay, anything. Mm-hmm. I don't have the best of the best. I mean, you guys help me with providing Easter for my kids. It's the smallest thing to one person is the biggest thing to another. And I cried. Yeah. I cried like a baby sending you a message, because that meant so much. And you don't realize how many resources are out there and how many kind people are actually willing to help you.
Oh,
and putting down the tail is hard for me. Yeah. Asking for help.
Well, I see that a lot, and that's, you know, anybody who is familiar with Sparta, it's a big part of us, is we want to be able to do things like that, to give back in the community, and not, I know it's healing for me, and many of our team members have all been through pretty crazy stuff in our lives as well. But what I talk about with gratitude is it puts things in perspective for us, right? And I'm just like, I made a huge mistake when my girls, were first born. Is thinking like, because the way I grew up, that they had to have everything. They had to have trips to Disneyland and all these toys and everything. And I quickly realized that stuff doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. They don't care about that. What they'll remember is the time I gave them to paint my nails, or to make me bracelets, and to sit there and hold my hand. And those are the things that like taught me, like, wow, material things don't mean anything for kids. You could buy them the most expensive toy in the world, and they'll find joy in building a cardboard box with their mom or dad. Yeah,
and for my oldest, since he's a wrestler, doing wrestling moves with him, or trying wrestling moves with him, and playing catch with him. Mm-hmm. He's a big athlete: football, baseball, wrestling, anything that he gets enjoyment out of. For my youngest, it's, hey mom, guess what about Fortnite or Roblox, or hey mom, let's go outside.
Yeah, those are two familiar names for me. I'm like, okay, I see those going on all the time. You know?
And I'm like, I have no clue what he's talking about, but it's just engaging.
Yeah.
It really is. And just being thankful that something in my mind clicked in that moment that I was going through that just said, no, your kids need you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ultimate story of survival right there, but a lot of people, and understandably so, they go through something traumatic in life, and it sets them back to such a degree that they become depressed and they can't do anything with it. And that doesn't mean that you don't have those days like you were talking about. And I appreciate you being just so candid and honest and saying, hey, I have bad days, and that's okay, because a lot of people don't realize that you can have bad days, and that's part of the journey, right?
It is.
And the other thing that I want to commend you on is like you'll message me every now and then, like, do you guys need any help with anything? Can I help with something? I love that. Like, that's like one of my favorite things ever. And so we will include you in those things. We do a lot. Yeah, we do a lot of really cool things in the community, and then people get to come and they feel like oh, let me do this, and it's powerful. I love that. So Precious Child, they were huge in recovery for you. They're a great organization for anybody out there considering donating to a 501c. I love them. We've donated to them before.
Amazing.
They're in Broomfield, right?
Yep.
So they did that. You had great resources. Did they help you get the job that you have now, or another friend?
They led me to the resources that helped me get my resume ready. And then I had a friend reach out and say, hey, they're hiring, you can try. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the confidence in myself at that time, because I was going through everything I was going through. And it was about a 2-3 month process to get, my credentials and background check and all that kind of stuff. So in that time, I was still trying to apply and find housing and everything that I could possibly do while going through everything and trying to mend myself while raising 2 little boys.
Right.
That was definitely, it tested me.
Yeah.
For sure. But the resources that I was given through all of this was incredible. And that's how I was able to get the job that I have now.
That's awesome. So for anybody out there, the resources are out there. And if you have any questions, we're going to put Jenifer's social media contact info on there, or you can DM me and I'll get it to you so I can connect you so you can help somebody else. So one of the questions I have, like going through it, you're moving forward. Obviously, you still have good days and bad days. What are some things that you do? Do you have a daily ritual, a weekly ritual that help you continue to heal and move forward?
I'm still trying to find that groove. I really am. It's a day-by-day case. I have a scar on my neck. I look at that every day and say, you can do this. Regardless of a good day or bad day. I look at my kids and I know I have a responsibility. I have a job to be the best mom that I can be. And I'm not some days. I mess up some days, but the next day it makes me want to be even stronger than I was the day before.
But I think you are. And that's like one of the mistakes that sometimes we make, is that we don't ever really know that we're doing it right? As fathers and mothers, like sometimes you might yell at your kid and then feel terrible after.
Yes.
They can test patience beyond belief, but none of us really know, right? We're on the job learning, and it doesn't matter. Some of us came from, no father figure to extraordinary father figures, and you don't remember those small things. Like if you had a good positive role model in your life and you're like, okay, I got in trouble, I got yelled at, so it's tough. So you have to give yourself more credit. I mean, you're doing an incredible job.
Thank you. It's tough, but it's just a matter of knowing I'm a survivor. I'm here to help people, obviously.
Yeah.
I am, whether I knew it then or not. If I could just help one person.
What are some big goals and dreams you have for your life? What are some things you want to accomplish moving forward?
I want to be the best mom that I can be. I want to provide trips for my kids. I want to have a really good paying job and be able to dedicate my time to people who are in need, so that my kids grow up seeing that and also dedicate their time to it. My goal is to have this wonderful life and one day get married. Find somebody who accepts me and my kids, my past, everything. And to be able to just be humble. That's a huge thing for me. And the PTSD that I go through, it's hard, and to get over that. I really want to get over that.
Do you have triggers like?
Oh yeah. I do. I have nightmares. Not all the time.
Yeah.
But there are some triggers that push me back a little bit, and I take a deep breath. I get a little bit of anxiety, and it's okay. You can do this. You can do this. You can get through this.
Yeah.
It's pushing myself to be better and to know that I can do this versus giving up.
What are some of the things? I know we touched on it briefly a little bit earlier, but what are some things you're doing with your sons? Do they bring it up at all ever?
My oldest does sometimes. Every now and then my youngest will say something. But it's just moving past and saying, yeah, it happened, but you know what? We're okay. We'll be okay.
And I think that the brutal honesty of like, okay, you've seen it. I'm not going to lie to you. This is what happened. Will help him accept it more and allow him to grow past it as well.
Yes, there's been a lot of counseling.
I bet. So, being completely honest with your boys, and when they have that, do you worry, obviously, that that's going to scar them?
I do. But I can only do the best that I can to make sure that as they grow into young men and become husbands one day, that they don't look at me differently as a mom, other than she was strong. She took care of us as a single mom. And I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Teaching them that that's not okay. I can only teach them so much.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about gratitude, beforehand and stuff. Like, how much has gratitude impacted your life? And I know because we talked about it, but like for, somebody out there going through something like that, it's hard to find things that you're grateful for, but they're there.
They are. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You may not see it right now. You may not see it in 5 days. It is there, I promise. And I can truly tell you, I promise with all my heart that there is light. Something good it will happen at the end of the tunnel.
Do you have any career aspirations as far as like being a victim's advocate, donating your time, like from that end, maybe not from just somebody that reaches out to you? Like, do you have a passion for that as well, like wanting to help others?
I do. My son, he plays on a football team, and we are very big. I sit on the board for his organization, and we are very big into giving back to kids who are in need, families who are in need. Being a single mom or a single dad, it's not easy.
No.
Especially when everything is so expensive, and sports are expensive. Wrestling is not cheap.
Yeah.
So trying to donate time to get donations into my son's account so that we can maybe go to Reno to wrestle as a family. And I don't need to just send him with another family, but I want to go too, to support him.
Yeah.
And if I can't go, then I'll stay back. But if I can help, it doesn't even have to include a donation.
Right.
You need a place to stay. You need a meal. It warms my heart.
One of the biggest misconceptions I believe about giving is people are like, well, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. And that's what I always try to convey to people. It doesn't matter. You don't need the money. Like time sometimes.
That's the best thing ever.
It is. It's like giving somebody your time is so valuable. Making somebody, a meal. And that's like one of the things that we're trying to teach our girls. They're very giving, especially my middle daughter, Melania. Like for her birthday, she last year said she just wanted a birthday cake and she wanted whatever we were going to spend on her to go to these other kids to get new shoes for school. Because every year we do the Spartus shoe crusade where we take nominated children and they each get $150 to either buy new school clothes or shoes.
Yeah.
And that just like really melted my heart. I'm like, okay, she's getting it. She understands. And then my sister took her and her sisters during COVID for Easter to senior facilities, and they were giving these little Easter bunk cakes with like little handwritten notes.
Yeah.
And they love it. But yeah, being able to just mow somebody's lawn for them, shovel their walk, like an act of kindness like that can truly change somebody's life,
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of that, my son just the other day asked if we can go to a shelter and help some people. And I said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just being around. Some people may not want to be around somebody at that particular moment, but they grow on you.
Yeah.
They do. And then you realize it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
It really is.
What I found through helping other people, like even in having a bad day, I'm like, your problems are nothing compared to, what some other people have gone through. And it's just so important to keep that positive mindset and that smile, and I think it's a beautiful thing for multiple reasons. One, you come on here to share this. Two, you're willing to help other people. And every day you're working hard to improve your life for yourself and your boys too.
Yeah.
With wrestling, I know your son wrestles at Pomona Elite, we talked about. How much do you think that's helped him recover through this, like having that outlet?
A lot. At first, his coaches did notice that something was different.
Yeah.
He wasn't giving what he used to. And so I pulled him aside and I, gave him a little insight of, hey, this is kind of what we're going through right now. Please be patient. And now it's 2 hours of his time, 4 nights a week to practice and to just focus on that. And if I'm there watching him, it gives him motivation. It really does. There's times that I have to go step out to the grocery store and he worries and he freaks out. So I try to do it when he's not practicing.
Yeah.
He's very protective, but it's baseball, football is an outlet for him also. And I'm very thankful that he has those.
Yeah.
If he didn't, I don't know where we would be right
Yeah.
now. And I know, and I'm very grateful that we could be worse off.
Yeah.
way worse than what we are.
That's one of the toughest things to grasp, is like when you think that like everything's so terrible in your life, and then you meet somebody else that has been through way more and they have all this gratitude. That was something that really impacted my life. We had done a story on a really good friend's daughter, or sister, who had battled cancer multiple times over and over and over, but her faith in life, humanity, and God was unbelievable, all the way even to the time she passed.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you have no clue what she'd been through, but she still had all this gratitude and all this positivity. And she was like, she just, her persona of like love and gratitude and forgiveness and faith was just absolutely incredible. And it was really, it was just really inspiring. When we were talking and you had reached out to me because, we wanted to focus on strong female figures for this part of the podcast. When you reached out to me, did you have any hesitation? Because it just seemed so confident, like you were like, I want to share my story, and explain to everybody why it was important for you to share your story.
I had a little bit of a hesitation just because of the other stories that were coming in, and reading how different and how painful other people's stories are. That's why I didn't feel like my story was important. And when I did finally reach out to you, I said, no, I need to take a stand, because I know I'm not the only one. Yeah. I know that. And I knew that before this ever happened to me, but I really didn't grasp the whole survivor thing.
Yeah.
Or ever thinking it would happen to me.
Yeah.
And maybe there's somebody that's watching this now that needs help, but doesn't know how to go about it, or wants to stay because of kids or whatever the circumstances may be. But this is the way I heal. This is the way I need to release what's happened to me, because I don't want anybody else to go through what I've been through. It hasn't been easy, and it's still not easy. Yeah. But I'm very grateful. And if I can help just one person, or somebody just needs to talk.
Well, it's one of those things, I think too, when you can see, and I didn't know you back then, but to see you now, and you have this bright, beautiful smile, and you're such an incredible mother to your boys. Like, I always love seeing the connection. Like last week we had, one of the guys on, he had his kids here, and it's just like, you could just feel that vibe and that energy of like somebody that wants more.
Yes.
And, wants to show their kids anything's possible. I think what's awesome about your story too is like, you're showing, hey, like I survived this, and I'm not just existing. It's not easy, but I'm trying to thrive and build this better life for my kids. And that's the thing with this podcast. I can't reiterate it enough. It's not just for a specific whatever. It's just for anybody who's overcome something crazy in their life,
Right.
Some form of adversity. For me, it was very healing with my brother. I didn't even know he was adopted. I learned that right here looking at him, and I'm just thinking, oh, wow.
Right.
We had these completely just different ideas on like what our lives were like, and and vice versa. And then JJ is such an incredible outgoing guy, like gets in a bar fight and ends up in prison for 10 years. And so everybody's been through something in their life. It's just a matter of who's courageous enough to come out and share it. And that's the definition of intrepidity. It's being bold and fearless and just doing it. And like you've showed you're so courageous to come out here and share your story, because it's just not something that's very common.
No, and I want it to be more common.
Yeah.
I want it to be more, just because it's something that nobody should have to go through.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yes.
It's life, and that's where, if I need to be a rock for somebody, to help them and to lift them up, to tell them that, no, you are good enough, you deserve more. I want to be that person.
What do you think triggers that point of it? You just brought up you didn't have a lot of self-esteem after it happened, not a lot of confidence. What do you think transpires from that? Do you start to think like, I wasn't good enough, that's why this happened to me? Is that kind of where that transition happens? Because it's very common when there's a situation like that, the person that's the victim doesn't feel like they were very good. It steals your self-esteem.
What did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong that night? Was it weeks before that I did something? Did I not dress right? Did I drink the wrong way? What did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? What did I do to deserve it?
Yeah. What do you think what are going to be the pieces of recovery that will ultimately give you closure into the situation of just being, that was the past and that grew me to where I am today? And I know you already kind of have that, but I think it's important to share with people that it's okay to not completely have closure in horrific situations, because it drives you to continue to be better.
Yeah, and maybe there might be closure for me. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I just know that I take one day at a time and build myself up from there. I don't know if there will ever be a sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if there's not, because I know that I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And whether I didn't dress right or something, I still didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to be told that I'm cheating when I put my heart and soul into this relationship and thought that we were getting married. I mean, there's a light, and I'm seeing the light. Whether I can forgive, maybe I can forgive in a different way. We have a son together, so that's something that's huge. I will have to, in some way, shape, or form, always be connected to him. We have a son.
Yeah.
I just want to be normal. I don't want to be labeled. I don't like that.
Yeah.
There will be a day that will come that I say, okay, yeah, it is my past. It is my past now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking into the future. And right now I've got a pretty damn good future.
That's awesome. I love it so much. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, thank you for joining us on another very powerful episode of Intrepidity Podcast. If you or somebody you know feels like they would like to come out here and share their story, what we have found is it's been very therapeutic for those that have been able to come and share this story with us. All my information is at the link below. Send me an email, and we look forward to getting with you soon. Until then, everybody have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.